Ladies and gentlemen, you are wasting your time. You have 3 essays due on Monday. Whether I help you plan or not, doesn't bother me. Okay, here we go. Now, let's talk about what those essays are. So please open up your stimulus prompts, ladies and gentlemen. Open up your stimulus prompts. On your stimulus prompts, you are opening up to Unit 2. Open it up to Unit 2. This is what the question looks like. You are doing the SAQ. It has 3 parts. Is everyone clear on that? It is based on the primary, of course. You're just doing the Unit 2 SAQ. You are not writing the LEQ. Is everyone clear on that? Now, if you want to write the LEQ because you're having such a good time, do you? I'd hate to deprive you of an opportunity. But I ain't grading it. Okay, so turn it all the way open to Unit 4, please. You also have another primary. This is also an SAQ. Okay, so you are doing the Unit 4 SAQ. Okay, this is 3 parts just as well. You are not writing the LEQ. Is everyone clear on that? All right, so on your prompt sheet, this is your 3rd. You are writing Unit 4, so period 4, and you are writing number 3. In the period of 1450 to 1750, traditional peasant agriculture increased and changed. That is the one you are writing. Is everyone clear on the expectations for Monday? Okay. All 3 essays need to be written completely and utterly out. What did you think we'd be doing on writing week, friend? Yes, and that's what we're doing. 3 I thought was very generous. I was thinking 4 to start the day. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are your 3 essays. As you know from writing week prior, I have something I want to do in class, then we'll start planning. If you guys, second period, can figure it out, hopefully we can plan at least half of these essays, yes? So, let's begin. Put away your prompts somewhere you can grab them quickly. At this point, you should have your essay on the desk, and a blank sheet of paper, and your crayon. Okay, what you are going to do is put your essay and a blank sheet of paper in a pile and hand it to someone. Do it now. Yes. Planning? Yeah. Pass it. Guys, you need to have your planning, of course. I am so glad you guys don't care about how you spend your weekend. This is great because I'm not stressed about it up here. This is perfect. I don't have to write any essays this week. And I'm recording your class. So as far as we get is as far as you'll get. Cannot stress that enough. On the blank sheet, you are writing what I am writing. Do this now. Okay, paragraph 2 is going to be the exact same thing, written twice. So for me, I'm just going to do this because I can. For me, I can just do that. Yes. No, because I'm not wasting my time on something only 2% of the nation gets. I think I made that very clear yesterday, didn't I?
I just wasn't sure if you were going to grade us on it.
No, absolutely not. I think that is incredibly too high of a standard with such a small windows of success. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, as soon as you get your rubric done, take out your crayons and color coordinate your rubric so it matches mine. Max, are you gonna make it? No. Are you okay over there? No, I'm like colorblind. Here, I will write them next to you. Thank you for telling me. I have pink. Is this better? I guess it's not better, is it? Because you still have the problem. Purple. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so what you are going to do now, I will tell you, we are just going to look at the final paragraph. Now, with the thesis, we're going to color their thesis in purple. So take a look at the essay that they have in front of them. I'm sorry, yes, pink. Yeah, you're just going to highlight the whole paragraph. Okay, because we came up with the thesis, it does work, yes? Okay. So, everyone should have an essay in front of them. Does anyone not have an essay in front of them? Excellent. So, with the thesis, you're just going to color it pink. With the contextualization, you are just coloring it green. Okay, the contextualization is correct. Okay, we are just going to look at the final paragraph. We wrote the second one together. We're going to look at the final one together. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with today's grading, hello, listen, do we have a better understanding of how to write an LEQ? Just by doing this rubric, do we have a better understanding? Yes. So, am I expecting you to get a perfect score on this LEQ? No, because you didn't see this amount of detail on how it should be structured. Is everyone clear on that? Hello? So, listen, we are just looking at what you wrote. I know you are missing some of this information. Is everyone clear on that? Yes? I know it. You'll be fine. However, we are going to go through only the paragraph they wrote, and we're going to look for the topic sentence. We're going to look for explains the evidence, and you're going to go through and try to find these things. That is what you are doing right now in only the final paragraph. Go through now, begin reading their final paragraph, and color it correctly. Then.
Does it matter if you change the contextualization?
No, not at the moment. Why?
I just did it to like meet, because I wanted to do a specific evidence that was already listed in the contextualization. So I wanted to change it, like stuff that
Do you, man?
I wanted to talk about Malaysia because it was in the contextualization.
It doesn't have to be in the contextualization. Contextualization.
It can't be in our evidence.
Got it. All right, so everyone should be reading the final paragraph. You should be trying to find these things. If it's not there, I'm expecting it to not be there. Yes? Because I didn't give you this framework. Is everyone clear on that? It's not supposed to be a trick. It's not a trick. It's not a trick. Let me get to where I need to be. Yes? Do what you're supposed to do. You should be highlighting. You should be doing. Isabel, do you not have something to do? Okay. So, you are looking for this. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it may not be there because I didn't go through with this explicitity yesterday. What do you got, Amelia?
If they have a sentence that, like, say for sentence 3 goes back to the prompt, isn't their current sentence, is that like a problem?
It's not a problem, but we're going to clean it up so it is like that. Does that make sense?
So should I not mark it?
It doesn't. As long as it's tying back to the prompt is the biggest thing. The prompt is the biggest thing. The necessary order isn't. But I think having a segmented thing makes it easier, which is why today I'm unveiling this. Does that make sense? So it'll all work out. The biggest thing is they're tying it back to the prompt. Katie.
What's the difference between purple and orange?
Okay, so explains the evidence. So if we're saying Latin sails are triangular shaped and they are used to catch the wind going in different directions. The difference creates evidence and explains is tying it better to the prompt. These Latin sails are being used to facilitate trade going in a year-long direction, allowing year-long trade to occur, which is going to cause a boom in trade with having more coastal cities, more resources being, and more traders.
One explains what it is.
The other one explains it in the concept of the topic. You have about 15 seconds. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want you to score their essay. So score it. Did they earn the point? Did they restate it? Did they do this? Did they do that? Did they do it well? Those types of things. Yes. Just that paragraph, really. I mean, you should give them the points for the thesis. I mean, the contextualization is done. I mean, we're just going to do that one that I didn't do with you. Does that make sense? That's the only one we're going to do, but... going to be only it's only going to be out of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You could figure it out though, dude. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9. These are things you can solve for yourself, darling. Nope. Okay, listen up, ladies and gentlemen. So, you are going to flip over your piece of paper if you need to be on the back of the rubric. Okay, you are going to write down 2 positive things and 1 piece of constructive criticism. Okay, one of the biggest things that you can assure them or push for them is saying you need to be better about clearly tying back to the prompt. I'm telling you right now, even if you give them points for tying back to the prompt, everyone in the room can do a better job of tying back to the prompt, can't we? So that's a good piece of constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is supposed to be something they can improve upon. Now, another thing is, if their handwriting is atrocious, you need to tell them. Like, it is really hard to read. What do you got, Victoria? You write on the rubric, just so they have that information. So, you are writing 2 positives and 1 piece of constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is supposed to make them better. Okay? And it's something that they can actually address right off. So, for instance, they probably, and if you have nothing really to say, which is complete lies at this point, every single person, including myself, has plenty of room to improve. Then you need to write, they need to tie better back to the prompt. Because ladies and gentlemen, the only way you get points is if it answers the prompt. So the best thing we can all do is answer the prompt better. Okay. 2 pieces of constructive criticism, 2 pieces of positive, 1 piece of constructive criticism, and then you are writing the grand score out of 9. Tell them what they would have earned out of 9 points. They got 2 points from the thesis, 2 points from the contextualization, and then they only get 5 points from their content.
Should we circle 2?
Yeah, circle them. That's why we have them. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, as soon as you get a stapler, you need to put the rubric on top of the essay. Yeah. It goes rubric, planning, rubric, essay, planning. Rubric, essay, planning. Rubric, essay, planning. Rubric, essay, planning. So as soon as you get a stapler, you need to staple it immediately. We're going to. We're just leaving it on the back for right now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, your name, the grader, should be at the very bottom by the score. Your grade should be at the bottom by the score. I want to know who is grading every person's paper. No one should have exchanged papers. So, guys, as soon as you have a stapler on your desk, you need to staple it and pass it. Okay, listen up, please. So, as soon as you have stapled it, you're going to go and hand it back to the person who owns it. Go. Okay, and tell them the 2 positive things and 1 piece of constructive. Sound like Five. 2, 1. Listen up, please, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone should have their own essay in front of them. Okay, what you are doing now is you are writing your name at the very top of the rubric someone else wrote. Okay, you are putting your name at the top of the rubric someone else wrote. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what I would like you to do is you are going to, at this moment, you are going to take a photo of it, of that rubric, because that's going to tell me you were in class, and you are going to submit it right now because I want you to take that rubric home. Don't you want to take that rubric home? Because if this is the tool we're going to be using, that's what you should have. Is everyone clear on that? So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone should be taking a photo of that. I'm about to open the link right now. Week 10, period. What? No, I just need the front. Period 1. Everyone's getting a full credit score today. You're welcome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, listen, it makes logical sense. You didn't understand the actual expectations. Is that clear? Now, going forward, do you know exactly what you need to be including in your essays? And you need, and going through, that is the big thing here. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is why everyone is getting full points. And the reason why I'm having you submit it online instead of in person is because I want you to take home those rubrics and do it that way. Is everyone clear on that? So, the whole reason why we're doing this is because I need you to have that information so you can be successful. So, I'm opening it right now. LEQ period 3, number 1. LEQ. So if you go to your modules, it's at the very bottom. Okay, so all you're doing is taking a picture of the first page. I don't need all of the information because I'm trying to make this go as fast as possible. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, tonight, well, no one's working tonight. Do not work tonight.
I worked this weekend.
Well, then I guess you are working. I will not be working. Your girl's watching Hocus Pocus, okay? And I'm pretty excited about it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, okay, you need to have this rubric out while you are working. Is everyone clear on that? Because that is what the standard you're going to be held accountable to. And the most important thing on this rubric that keeps getting mentioned over and over again is what? Prompt, ladies and gentlemen. So the most important thing is the and tying everything you have back to the prompt. So everyone is getting their 10 points, okay, for this essay. But the biggest lesson from this essay should be the rubric. Now you have the rubric going forward. This will be the rubric that we're grading all of our LEQs on for a while, and eventually we'll increase some responsibility as we get better at content. And then we'll kind of go forward from there. Is everyone clear on the expectations of how they've now changed? Okay, so everyone is clear. This is what you need to have out on your desk when you are grading this evening, when you are writing this weekend. Is everyone clear? Perfect. Take out a sheet of paper, take out your prompts. Let's go. Box that's just for me because I don't want to share things, and that box is not just mine. Jerks. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the major lesson from this quick little mini lesson is the rubric is the most important thing. Making sure your contextualization, cleaning up a little bit from yesterday. Yesterday's was an introduction. Today's getting into the more nuts and bolts of it. Your thesis should include 2 pieces of evidence, and the information has to be correct. Basic parts. Contextualization. When we're talking about your contextualization, it has to focus on the whole world. Okay? Now, Does it have to be vaguely, like the world continues revolving? No, but you should be including different regions, ladies and gentlemen. We're not just going to talk about Europe, or you're not just going to talk about India or the South Asia. You need to talk about East Asia and Africa. You need to talk about different parts of the world to show you have that understanding to do so. Okay, so contextualization and corrects and applies to the prompt. You can't just start talking about absolutely nothing and think it scores. It won't. Okay. Do we want to start with LEQs or SAQs? Do we want LEQ? I hear Abby's vote. LEQ it is. All right, here we go. In the period of 1450 to 1750, traditional peasant agriculture increased and changed. Plantations expanded and demand for labor increased. Develop an argument that evaluates how one or more labor systems changed as a result of increased demand for labor in this period. What are some things you should have immediately acknowledged? What do you got, John? Okay, and what about it?
During the Americans.
All right, so Columbian Exchange is an option. There you go. Columbian Exchange is an option. Okay. Now, what is something that is not included that one may think about for a labor system? What is a huge exclusion? You immediately should have thought, oh, well, I can't do that. What do you got, Amelia? Feudalism is off the table. No feudalism in Europe. Now, feudalism is still happening. Russia. So, no feudalism in Western Europe, but it is still happening in Russia. So, if you really want to talk about feudalism, the only way it could score is in Russia. So, those are things that you should have thought about. So, it is always really important when you read a prompt, if there's something big, like, oh, crap, yes, I can talk about the Columbian Exchange, that's great, then write that down. Columbian Exchange is open, okay? If there's something that, like, oh, no, I can't talk about it, I would also make a note out of it. It's really important that you stop and you really process what is in the prompt and what it crosses off. Okay. What is something else you should have pulled out from the prompt that is a huge point of focus? Brady. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, traditional peasant agriculture increased, changed, plantations expanded, and really demand for labor increased. Okay? You need to show change equals bigger. That is what they're getting at. All of a sudden, everything is getting bigger. So, we are talking about how things are expanding, and that is something you need to tie back to in the prompt. How things are expanding. What else is something you should have seen in this prompt, Ben?
It says one or more labor systems.
Okay, so you should have had at least two. So you need at least two of them.
Wait, if it says one or more, can we just do one?
Not saying that we should do one, but like, could we do one?
You could do one if you have two aspects. I would do two different labor systems because I think it's easier to come up with evidence, because instead of having, you know, just focusing on one, you have to double up on that evidence, and you really have to be an expert on that one piece of evidence. Does that make sense? So I would always do two. I would always do two. Okay? So, and the big thing that, and there's one thing you guys haven't noted yet that's a huge deal that you have to note, and if you don't note it, you're just not going to score well. Brady? No. It is an interesting thing, the fact that they throw that in there. I do think that's interesting. Because with them putting in 1450 to 1750, they're leaning right to, because like that did stop, like I stopped and thought about when I read that one a couple weeks ago. Like, what do they mean by peasant agriculture? But I think they just mean like indigenous or local, the traditional methods of farming. So I thought about it as well. Like, are they talking about slavery and stuff like that? But in the end, I do agree. It does open it up to Columbian Exchange and transatlantic. Come in. The door's open. Okay, what do you got, Ben?
Can you say this is develop an argument? I don't know if that's important.
Thank you. Amelia, you have a pass in the front. Thank you, Sasha. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, changes as a result of increased demand. You did not acknowledge that. Demand for labor. That is something you need to tie back to, an increased demand for labor. We need to explain why there's an increased demand for labor as we're going through the prompt. John, did you have a question, darling?
You already underlined that, demand for labor.
Okay, yeah, we did, but I just want to make sure. Sorry. No? No. What do you got?
When talking about the slave trade, does that count as like a labor system?
Yeah. What do you think they're hiring slaves?
I just didn't know. It's like,
They're not just hiring them to sit around and relax.
well, I know, but the slaves go like other places. I didn't know specifically use that.
Nope, they are. Okay, here we go. So let's review our prompt. So in the period of 1450 to 1750, traditional peasant agriculture increased and changed, plantations expanded, and the demand for labor increased. Develop an argument that evaluates how one or more labor systems changed as a result of increased demand for labor in this period. Here we go. What do we got? Be careful. Be careful, because if you're going to shout at me, transatlantic slave trade, you're going to get it wrong. What do we got? Nicole.
Can we talk about how like the increase of like demand for like silver from the Americas led to the Spanish hiring of slaves from the Americas to bring to places like China?
So you want to argue silver? Okay, now let's look. Develop an argument that evaluates how one or more labor systems changed. So we can't argue silver. We can argue it later, but we can't argue it now. What do we got, Mr. Jackson?
Can we argue sugarcane and how it was very demanding on the workers and how they constantly needed more people?
Okay, like, so silver and, like, guys, develop an argument that evaluates how one or more labor systems. We're looking at labor systems here. So we got to come up with, what's the name of a labor system? Now, La Hacienda system, I think, is the place we need to start at, yes? And then we can use things like sugarcane and mining and those types of things in order to assess why there's an increase of these labors. Does that make sense? So when they're asking for labor systems, you give them labor systems. If they're asking for technology, you give them. If they're asking for items, you give them. There we go. Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. Okay, so hacienda system.
Would we consider that a system, or would we make chattel slavery a system?
Well, they're two totally different things, boss.
They are? Oh, I thought they used chattel slavery in the hacienda system.
No, you have a fundamental lack of understanding what the hacienda system is then. Okay, so who can educate us on what the hacienda system is? Because remember, we have to say something and we have to explain it because we know that, because we are going to explain what it is. Yes? What is the hacienda system? John.
It was like a ranking of people like based on their heritage. If you were both born in Spain, or like if you're completely from Spain, then you're at the top, and then it's.
No, you're mixing your systems.
Wait, is that the English? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think we need to make sure we know our content. Amelia.
Okay, so they would make the indigenous people in debt, so but they would never be able to repay the debt, so they just didn't work whatever.
Yes. Yeah, you're completely correct. You are completely correct. But guys, who can define hacienda system? You just talked about it, but what is the definition of it? What do you got, Natalie?
The Spanish conquistadors were granted land,
Okay, guys. We're trying to make it so we can easily inject it right into our essay, yes? So let's keep it in context of what we have. It's a labor system created by who? By the Spanish to coerce indigenous populations into working lands conquered by the Spanish. By Spanish conquistadors. There we go. We'll even include that. Okay. Does that make sense? Hello? So we simply come up with a nice, clean definition of what it is. Okay, so let's make sure we're going back to our prompt here, and the prompt is saying that. So, develop an argument that evaluates how one or more labor system has changed as a result. So, the hacienda system, how is it going to change and evolve from a labor system created by the Spanish to coerce indigenous populations to work lands conquered by Spanish conquistadors? How is it going to change? How is it going to change? I already talked to Ben. Steven.
So it's going to kill off the native population, so they're going to start eating the free American population.
All right, the abuses occurring and its implementation. Will kill off indigenous population and require the purchasing of slaves. Okay, that was very generous of me. Whew, that's like a sentence you can put right in. Okay, so an evolution of the system. They created it so it's based on the indigenous being enslaved. However, they are going to kill off so many of them, they're going to have to start buying slaves to fill the holes. What is some proof, some evidence, some facts we can put in here? I've already talked to these people. I already talked to you. Brady, what do you got?
This would be like when you start talking about the silver and the sugar cane.
There you go. So, silver mining.
Should we write who wants it? Like Asia?
You can, yeah, for sure. Because remember, we're talking about the changing of the system. So, silver mining becomes popular in Asia and becomes, what is a lovely other piece of evidence to clear. Silver becomes part of what massive system that becomes the economy of every European nation. I've already talked to all these people. Matt? You're Max. Mercantilism. Okay, which is an economy based on silver and gold. There we go. So, now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just trying to make it clear. You gotta tie how it comes back to the prompt. Develop an argument that evaluates how one or more labor system changed as a result of increased demand for labor. So, our change is the fact that we are now evolving to slaves. Okay, so we're saying that silver is it. How does silver tie to the change? Okay, how does silver tie to the change? That is because mercantilism is based on the entire economy. Does that make sense? What do you mean?
Like, how does that?
Every European country is going to switch to the economy system of mercantilism, which is the adoption of silver and gold as the foundation of their economy, which means every country is now looking to get as much gold and silver as they can possibly store in their country.
So they want us to say how the labor system changed and how it changed the economy.
Well, we have to explain why it's changing because of silver mining, and your change is the silver mining, and you're going to have to say that it is it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous, and most slaves die because of it. Most slaves / indigenous die because of silver mining. Does that make sense? Okay, because remember, the change we're trying to sell is the eventual use of slaves, leaving the indigenous. Why? Because they're dying. Why are they dying? Because silver becomes popular. Why is silver becoming popular? Because of the mercantilism. But why are they dying because of silver? Because it's the most strenuous. You could also do the same thing with sugar as well. Obviously, you can't tie it to mercantilism because that doesn't make sense, but there you go. You have 3 essays due on Monday. What? Hold on, Victoria had her hand up. It's just, it's not really silver and gold. It was, it's a goods-based economy. If you have the money, you buy it, stuff like that. It's about supply demand, kind of, to a degree. You don't need to talk about what it was before. All you have to do is come up with that.